Hey there, welcome to episode 57 of the Cafe Genius Impresario's audio program. I am your host, Dan Hugo. We are recording this on the morning of the 29th of March, 2024. Happy Friday. Today's topic, strategizing for our future, aimed mostly at the greater Vegas area, as most of these episodes are, but could be useful for a aspiring or nascent innovation hub. Any place that believes it is destined to be the next Silicon Valley, perhaps. Why would you want to do that? Today's show is about our ubiquitous silos. They are one thing, but disconnection seems to be the new status quo in the greater Vegas area. Enough so that the continuous introspection idea, a retrospective analysis of the downtown project, and a real analysis are going to be needed to figure all of this out. And we've talked about these in previous episodes, so I'm being a little self-serving, maybe self-referential, to be sure. Let us make a plan. Wherever you've listened to these episodes, hopefully you are able to find the episode description, the show notes. I just read the summary. The link section has a number of relevant links. We will be, any day now, I know I've been talking about this forever, we will be launching the primary publication point on the cafegenius.org website as the primary way to find our audio programming, not only the audio, but the associated links and any other ongoing, since these topics are sort of, they don't fade away. These topics and the discussion should be ongoing. So we'll try to make sure that we can add material over time, connect related episodes and all that stuff in an easy way. It's not quite so easy when you're publishing through Spotify, etc. So anyway, hopefully you're able to find these links. Got a bunch today. We'll start off with the self-promotion. Shameless though it may be, buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo. Links to the relevant places to find the four audio programs I produce each week. Some other information about projects on GitHub mostly. I am the managing director of the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, a Nevada nonprofit 501c3 public charity. We work on local innovation by somewhat local innovators. So the Let's Innovate for Vegas audio program, for example. This audio program, Cafe Genius Impresarios, which is about our entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem, FFS Talk, and Quaggling Sand. Check those out. You are under no obligation to buy anything, but if you do want to buy a coffee, all of my projects are supported by coffee. Similarly, the ko-fi.com/DanHugo site profile is there for your enjoyment. Now on with the rest of the links. There are quite a few. Hopefully they will all fit in the limited space provided by the Spotify podcaster portal for editing the description. Fingers crossed. Locate Southern Nevada, a $2 million program to convince companies to relocate to the greater Vegas area. $2 million for the LVGEA, the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, to do just that. Convince them to move here. They had a kind of a high-profile outreach engagement gathering, spending some of that money during the Super Bowl in February here in Vegas. You can read about it in the Nevada Current. There are several places you can read about it. The Nevada Current, a little independent news source here in the greater Vegas area, probably more interesting than the Review Journal for a variety of reasons. So from February 29, Nevada Current, the Locate Southern Nevada, they call it a Super Bowl schmooze, probably rightfully so. Next up, TQ Takes is a kind of a column on the LVGEA website, lvgea.org, written by the LVGEA CEO, Tina Quigley. TQ Takes, get it? TQ, Tina Quigley. She writes in this particular article about the Locate program. I'll take a couple of quotes from there. It's a very brief read. A brief read all about motivated reasoning, warm introductions, selection bias. Business is booming across the country, by the way. I don't know if you know that. The AmericanProgress.org website has an article about how entrepreneurship, startups, and business formation are booming across the United States. So we are in an economic time where encouraging entrepreneurialism, fostering startups, cultivating a culture of innovation and entrepreneurialism. There is, you could say, fertile ground across the country. So what makes fertile ground where you are more interesting? Not in general. You don't have to be interesting to everyone. Here in the Greater Vegas area, there's an interest in Hollywood 2.0, in being the next Silicon Valley, and the fun economy. And if you're a small business person, good luck. Mark Wahlberg is on the team. TheRealDeal.com has an article about how Mark Wahlberg has joined the effort to build, I think it's a $1.8 billion studio project in Summerlin, which is the west side. Some people will tell you it is not in the city of Las Vegas. Other people will tell you it's just outside the administrative boundaries of the city. It depends on exactly where you're referring, much in the way that Las Vegas is a casual reference to all of southern Nevada at this point. There is a city with boundaries and governance and so on. The fact that the Clark County Commission gave the thumbs up on this project will tell you that it is not necessarily within the city limits, but it's over there somewhere in the Summerlin area. So Mark Wahlberg has been an advocate, lobbying our state government for tax credits and incentives for studios to move production for employees and workers in general in the trades, in the movie production arena, to relocate or otherwise work in the Greater Vegas area. And Mark Wahlberg has produced 2 movies here in the Greater Vegas area. So I will give him credit for being all in. He is now part of the project, a big name to add, and that is essential here in Vegas. It's got to have a name. So he's on the team. Clark County did approve the studio in Summerlin, a fox10tv.com video, and whatever's on that page. You can check it out. So the Clark County Commission approved the studio plan for Summerlin. And by the way, the UNLV Tech Park is also supposedly to include some media production facilities, some sort of a studio and other resources to join the Hollywood 2.0 fray, just in case the Silicon Valley thing doesn't work out. Summerlin, however, the people of, not totally sold on the studio idea. Another Fox 5 Vegas. Fox 5 Vegas article on Sunnyvale residents not necessarily thrilled about the idea of traffic. Whenever you have a large project like this, there's supposed to be an environmental impact report. Somewhere in there should be traffic flow impact. So if you add a giant facility and their roads are too narrow, you will create bottlenecks and so on. Not a problem anywhere here in Greater Vegas. It is possibly the easiest city to get around in, as long as you're not driving in a car. A lawsuit over Formula One may be happening. KTNV.com website has a report on how business owners, we've talked about this several times, including as part of the Fun F1UN Fun Economy series. Small businesses were sort of overlooked. If you ask some of them, they will tell you. They will tell you loudly, and they will recount tales of financial loss and dismal outcomes. Not everybody was a winner at Formula One, but why worry about the little guy? The Wahlberg family is thriving in Vegas. Infomi? An article. Mark Wahlberg has been all over the news in the past couple of months. Again, it's March 2024 at the moment. Anybody who will listen, and I'm not complaining, he's touting how his family is better off. His kids are thriving. They're enjoying living in the high-end part of the city. I'm sure his children are attending charter or private schools in general. Private, most likely. And, of course, his name recognition has afforded him quite a bit of celebrity here in town. And nobody likes celebrities more than the government types, not only in Vegas, but in the area in general. If you can attach Mark Wahlberg's name to anything, whether he's jumping behind the bar to be a guest bartender, whether he's lobbying for tax incentives, whether he's producing movies, whether he's talking about his workout routine, whether one of his children celebrates their 18th birthday, the list goes on. Population 1 in the greater Vegas area. So another article about Mark. But is everything still cool? ScreenRant.com has an article about how the Arthur the King project, about a dog named Arthur, did not really do that well. Did get a high Rotten Tomatoes score, which I believe Mr. Wahlberg was celebrating. Was kind of cheersing his fans for the general reaction. However, it didn't really turn up at the box office. If you flip through the Screen Rant article, there are a few things that it points out. First of all, Mark Wahlberg is certainly no Sydney Sweeney, certainly no Zendaya or Tom Holland. So he's old school celebrity. I'm old school also, so I'm not trying to be ageist, but not necessarily the draw. I will almost guarantee, I would certainly wager $1 that were Tom Holland and Zendaya to announce a relocation of the greater Vegas area, they would get the attention rather than Dean Cain and Mark Wahlberg and families. So any discussion about Hollywood celebrities relocating to the greater Vegas area will focus entirely on Mark Wahlberg family and Dean Cain, Superman for some. So yeah, is everything still rosy? Now, this is not to say that someone who lives here advocating for positive changes to the economy, to the workforce, availability of jobs for a workforce, adding something new, there's nothing wrong with these things. So it's when irrational exuberance takes over, associated with a name or an idea, and I've said this before, we're going to be the next Silicon Valley. There was substantial excitement when Mark Andreessen announced that he was purchasing property here, probably very near, I believe it was somewhere in the general vicinity of the Wahlberg compound. Mark Andreessen, Marka for some, is going all in on California, so he's not really here, but oh boy, did his name get dropped at every turn. Do you know Mark Andreessen? Do you know Mark? Have you met Mark Andreessen yet? Mark Andreessen lives here in Vegas. And that goes right along with we're going to be the next Silicon Valley. But, well, anyway, I have listed a few things about innovation. Innovate Syracuse. It's an interesting article on some of the things they're doing in Syracuse about their innovation ecosystem. How do you enable that? It's good to read so that when you read about the innovation hub, innovation district idea that Clark County was floating, bars, restaurants, and coffee shops to encourage people to meet up and run into each other and so on. Innovate Syracuse has a list of partnerships in academic, business, government. I keep wanting to say governance. Government, direction, plans. So it's something to think about whenever you hear innovation. We're an innovation hub. We're the innovation future, the future of innovation. We rival San Francisco. You should consider how that is viewed here in the greater Vegas area versus other places. Speaking of the innovation hotspots across the country, according to Axios, they basically reviewed utility patent filings based on region over a 10-year period, 2012 to 2022. Las Vegas had a 14% increase. Not right. So on the map, physically, if you visit that article, you will see the map, and Vegas is on there, a little orange disc. Larger discs are in other places with far more proactive innovation, so patents filed. Not everybody's going to be the next Silicon Valley. Even Silicon Valley probably won't be. But if you want to be an innovation hub, a culture of innovation is critical. Your entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem is a thing to focus on. It may or may not jibe with a fun economy. Something to think about. Las Vegas is not so affordable. I just threw this in here as a discussion about Las Vegas and Houston are topping the list of least affordable cities. Now, the dream is to have the next Silicon Valley, thereby inviting rich or soon-to-be rich people to gentrify the greater Vegas area. That doesn't really work. So hopefully that doesn't really happen. So cost of living may not affect the rich and soon-to-be rich, aspirational rich, but it is still noteworthy that we still lack the inventory of affordable housing, which is being changed by rapid development, construction of high-density housing, and some plans to make housing more affordable in general. Institutional investment in real estate may be part of the problem. If you continue your reading, which of course you should, you'll find a few mentions about the real estate and rent prices in general in the greater Vegas area and what might be done to rein them in. But in general, if you are a startup or if you want to relocate your employees to the greater Vegas area, where are they going to live? It's something to think about. If you have an infinite budget, if you are a tech unicorn and you can buy up neighborhoods and fill them with your employees, well, that might work. It might not work for everybody else, but we will see. Finally, the reminder, this is a reminder from October 2023, the EDA, a government agency, federal government agency, designated 31 tech hubs across the country. Southern Nevada is not one of them. However, the Reno area where lithium deposits were found is on the list. One could argue, I've not really spent a lot of time in Reno, so I don't have any firsthand on the ground experience. One could argue that UNR, the University of Nevada at Reno, is generally more oriented toward innovation, entrepreneurialism, the tech sector in general, possibly proximity to Silicon Valley. When I lived in Silicon Valley for 15 years, working in the dot-com boom and all that, the proximity to the northern Nevada came up from time to time. Trips to Lake Tahoe, not so many trips to Reno, but if you're going to do business in Silicon Valley from Nevada, it was an easier matter to do so from Reno. So it's presumably plausible that this has had an impact on the general innovation culture of the Reno area. Who knows? But now that they have lithium resources to tap into when it comes to energy storage for mobile electronic vehicles, mobile devices, anything moving that needs to store energy, even things that are not moving. If you want to capture daytime solar in batteries for use during the evenings, why not store it in lithium batteries? Brought to you by the Reno Area Innovation Hub. But anyway, there are 30 other hubs in various focus areas in innovation. Tech hubs. So innovation and tech go together like peas and carrots. Not everything has to be tech, but in today's world, everything has to be tech. So that's the set of links for today. Let's get on with the show and you become a local. There's been some economic development floating around for years, and the messaging for at least two, maybe a little bit longer, but at least two, maybe probably post-pandemic lockdown, when there was some uncertainty as to whether the fun economy would bounce back, by the way it has, become a local. And there are advertising assets that I think the Downtown Vegas Alliance put together, but certainly in conjunction with City of Las Vegas. They are in the City of Las Vegas properties. Become a local, relocate to Vegas, bring your workers, start your startup, etc. Does it make sense for any business? Maybe. Does it make sense for all business? No. This is not true. It's not true that any business should come here and become a local. Remember, there are 31 designated tech hubs, and Greater Vegas is not one of them. That's only one of the pixels on the big picture. Defending this assertion is something I've been doing. That is to say that the Greater Vegas area is not necessarily the end-all and be-all for all startups, all entrepreneurialism, being the next Silicon Valley, etc. So defending this assertion in general will be the topic of multiple episodes into the future, as it has been several episodes in the past. This entire discussion will benefit substantially from the continuous introspection, about which I did an episode previously, about the Downtown Project retrospective, about which I have done an episode previously, and in general, transparent analysis of what we have here for anyone considering either starting or relocating a small or even a large business to the area. So more of this in the future. Everything introspection may include, or may be separate depending on how you want to view it, something as simple as an asset map. Like, what do we really have here? And that comes up in the TQ Takes article, which I will excerpt from. What Vegas does have is a fun economy, which I've covered previously as well, and the capacity and infrastructure to enable and encourage visitors, including visiting innovators. So we have something like 50,000 plus hotel rooms, some of them very nice, not all of them ridiculously expensive. We do have the former Enron. So when it comes to internet, thanks to the switch, having purchased those assets many years ago, really, really fast internet. Some of it may actually reach customers here on the ground. So with BEAD funding, there will be more fiber, more 5G in more places. So being connected to the internets and the world through Vegas and its technology infrastructure, ever more popular, ever more possible. So there are resources here for people who visit. Do you need to relocate here? My contention is you do not. You're always welcome to visit, but you don't have to stay here. You can always go home or return to your other workplace locations. WFH, work from home. Something to think about. The Greater Vegas area has a lot of silos. That is to say, insular, not necessarily isolated, but insular, we will use the C word, communities, people with similar interests. They are either geographically proximal or they share these common interests, and so they gather and probably network to try to get clients from each other or to become a client or to gain a client directly. So the silo culture of Vegas makes sense. It's a collection of silos, and that has been written about, and we've talked about it here. It is not clear to me after 10 years living here, 10 and a half, coming up on 10 and a half now, and 2 years, a little bit over 2 years, specifically focused on this, that we can change this, nor that we should. So the silos may be here to stay, and that may be something to work with, to leverage if possible. So people functioning silos are insular. Like I said, they're not necessarily isolated, but they do, and this is my experience, so this is anecdotal. This would be the stuff of an introspective surveys over time. But they are insular most of the time. So they tend to stay to themselves or within their community. They operate with focus internally. That is, what we're working on for our interests dominates our time commitment, our interests, and so on. And my theory is that it sort of comes down to trust. It's a trust issue. The Greater Vegas area is highly transient. People come and go. Talked about this in previous episodes as well. So if your population changes, the likelihood that someone will continue to put in effort on a project it's something to consider. And that's for people directly engaged, directly involved on mutually beneficial, sharing of time and resources, committed to some direction. If you say, hey, do you want to work with this other silo of people on some other project that may benefit you, you may be setting yourself up for disappointment. The voice of experience. So, yeah, like I said, I think it's a trust issue. The track record for collaboration across these silos may not be, and it varies, of course. There are success stories. But the tendency, and I've heard this anecdotally from many people, there's just a tendency for people to stick with what they're working on and not take too proactive an interest in what you are working on. Even if there's like mutual benefit, if it would ultimately be worthwhile, the long tail is a scary proposition here. So I think there's a certain distaste in general, spending time on a project or on some engagement or some collaboration that might have a low likelihood of return in the near term. The long tail could have benefits, returns over a longer time horizon. But we are a culture at present, or a collection of cultures really, that will almost certainly ask not what might this be sometime in the future, but is there free food today? True story. So encouraging cross-communication, cross-pollination, and maybe even cross-collaboration might yield some returns. So this is the silo crosstalk, right? Hey, if you're in a silo and we're in a silo, maybe we should see if we can work together and save some time. You're working on the same issues. You're trying to solve some of the same problems. You're trying to implement some of the same solutions. We should collaborate. This is a general theme in the Innovate for Vegas Foundation, so you'll hear about this a lot. If we have insulation impact on small business versus large, on different quarters of the city, and the various formal and informal groups and organizations, if these are insulated from each other by design, by culture, with momentum, they may be more interested in thinking what they're doing, and they'll take questions later. So this is the challenge, is to make use of these silos without depending on the silos collaborating. They may cooperate, but will they collaborate? My experience says not likely, or not initially. It will take work. And this is important, by the way, when we cover some of the things from the TQ takes. And I'm going to pick on that because the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance is, by its very existence, the source of oversight, direction, inspiration. The CEO, Tina Quigley, can make statements and spend real money, $2 million in this case, on these efforts, which may or may not be effective for more people, more small business, more entrepreneurs, etc. So there is a tendency here. And if you look at the Formula One race, for example, for the Super Bowl, for example, there are circumstances here in the greater Vegas area where the headlines seem good, but the actual impact, the actual returns, the cost is public, the benefits are private or insular. One silo gets all the profits, the other silos suffer the losses and impacts. So that the Formula One lawsuit is actually possibly probably a class action, but a lawsuit against the Clark County Commission, LVCVA, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, and I think the city of Las Vegas. Depends on what the state of the lawsuit actually ends up with. But they're Formula One, not City of Las Vegas. City of Las Vegas might be in there. Not all of the impact was in the city limits. So I think, but definitely Formula One will be in there. I misspoke there. So something to think about in how silos work and how they communicate, how they do not. Some motivated reasoning. So the Locate project has received $2 million in funding from various sources, mostly like city, state, the GOED, county, right? So locate to Southern Nevada, locate to the greater Vegas area. Let's spend $2 million on a campaign to proactively engage business to form or relocate, given the fact there are 16 explicitly anonymous starting points. I'm going to assume this is relocate or open a branch office, not encouraging entrepreneurialism and startups. So right away, focus on import, not innovation. That could be problematic. In a moment, I will take a look at what Tina Quigley had to say in her TQ article about this. In order to alert these candidates, there was a concerted effort during the Super Bowl here in Vegas, not the other one, to impress decision makers with visits to various facilities in a top-down wow extravaganza. That is, look at all the cool stuff we have here. Just in case you were not aware that Las Vegas is not merely about gaming and the fun economy, except when it is. Unfortunately, the way to show what the terrain here looks like is to focus on what is here for their business and their employees. So should they relocate? Should they find new employees here? Rather than distractions and the fun economy, which is apparently what they did. Now, they did take some of these people to the new medical school, Blackfire Innovation. The TQ take is, I will use the word fantastic with all that it implies. So let's look at this article here. And there are some other, if you look on the LVGEA website for locate, you will find stuff. And the locate and grow, I think it is, section of the lvgea.org website does include various resources, which we will do a deep dive on in the future to see what it is that the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance believes there is here for those who want to relocate their startups or even big business to the Vegas area. But let me excerpt. This is from the 22nd of February. Tina Quigley writes, And by the way, I assume it's Tina Quigley writing this. It could be staff. This is a quote. Remember, all 16 or some fraction thereof who were the decision makers who were visiting for the Super Bowl or in general are explicitly anonymous. All guests were ensured anonymity, as is stated in the article. So we don't know who these companies or who these people are. Quote, the biggest surprise for me has been how the entire business community comes together and the way they interact with each other and support each other, he said, whoever he is. I've been to Las Vegas as a consumer, a visitor, and to visit family, but never as a business person until now. So to learn how everybody is interconnected in a way where they're trying to lift each other up, that's just not something you normally find in a city the size of Las Vegas, unquote. So there were several problems there. If you show someone through warm introductions, people who are already inclined to talk about business, to be excited about the business that they are doing and the collaboration they have with other people in similar verticals and similar mindsets, I call it the 300. If you look at entrepreneurial events, Global Entrepreneur Week, I should say, Startup Week, some other events, the same 100, 150 people show up. If you look at events like Tech Alley, it's the same 120 to 150 people. Occasionally there will be people cycling through new to the area, checking it out, kicking the tires. But for the most part, you're going to see the same number of people, and it's a group, so I say it's approximately 300, the same group of people who have the time and the wherewithal to wander around. And you're going to run into advocacy groups like the Vegas Chamber or other various vertical chambers for different interest groups, different identity groups. So you're going to find people who are bent on painting a pretty picture. So that's fine, as long as you understand that that's what you're getting. So warm introductions, we saw this with the Entrepreneurial Ecosystem Report that Mo Collins published back in April. So it was a study done from somewhere in January of 2023 across the state, focused in Washoe, Clark counties, and then the more rural areas in general as a third, and then the entire state. So per my discussion with Mo, also a previous episode of this very program, we discussed how she formed the group of people she was going to talk to, she and her collaborators working on this study. And as she described it herself, she started like any entrepreneur would, went to the Blackfire Innovation Center, which is not true at all. It's not how that works. But she went there, met with the usual cast of characters, and received warm introductions to a cone, if you will, a pyramid, a subset of an org chart, a sector of society here of people who all know each other or are 1 or 2 or 3 degrees of separation away. They all hang out in the same events. They all know that SCORE and SBDC are the best. And of course you must know where Blackfire is. And of course you must know these 2 or 3 key entrepreneurial, what is it called? ESO, service organizations? Whatever it is. You must know these people. No, I don't. Well, you will. So there are, I've checked this out. It's like 116,000, I believe, business licenses granted in the Southern Nevada area. That's a lot of 116,000. That's a lot of people to talk to. Most of them don't know each other, I will venture to guess. A city as large as Las Vegas, you do have to keep in mind the city of Las Vegas is about 577,000, give or take, according to the recent census data. Clark County is 2.3 million. Still not a big city. 2.3 million people. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2.3 million people spread over a fairly large area. Very diverse as far as whether they're entrepreneurial, whether they work in the service industry, whether they work in big business, manufacturing, some medical and biotech. There's enough difference that the one fun economy component that gets all the attention gets a lot of attention. But there are other sectors that are developing or that are present that may not get the attention. It doesn't mean that we're going to be the next Silicon Valley because there are some people doing web development. Gaming technology is a big one, esports. So there are certain verticals that are popular here, but people do not come to Vegas to see what people are making or innovating about. They come here for fun. This was stated very clearly from a colleague in Shenzhen, China. As he put it, nobody comes to China, nobody comes to Shenzhen, to be sure. If you've never been, Shenzhen is essentially the manufacturing hub of China in Guangdong. So if you are building a cell phone or manufacturing some electronic device or some technology, they make this stuff. They'll cost reduce it. They have all their supply chains. They have little manufacturing cities. So if you're building toys, I used to work at Leapfrog. If you are building cell phones, if you're building anything, they can build it in Shenzhen. As he put it, people come to Shenzhen. They don't come there to see what we're making. People come, but we make things. We make things. Nobody comes there to see it. In Vegas, you don't make anything, but everybody comes to Vegas, right? So he was describing the disparity in tourism and visitation when it comes to innovation and making things. People don't come to Shenzhen to see the making. People don't come to Vegas to see the making. Everybody comes here, not for that. So most people don't know that Vegas has the innovation happening that it does. Leading the way in water conservation, for example. That doesn't always make the news until Lake Mead is nearly empty. The article goes on, so that was a quote. Sometimes it takes the word of someone seeing Las Vegas for the first time to remind us how special our community is. So they're using community as a singular, as if everybody just gets along. Everybody has common cause, etc. Nothing further from the truth. Underscore our position as our country's most vibrant place to do business. That is probably not true, depending on the business in question. Don't forget, this is motivated reasoning 101, right? It is the job of the CEO of the LVGEA to speak highly of our economy and our place on the global economic alliance. So they during the Locate Las Vegas initiative, the first major event at the Super Bowl, a combination of public and private stakeholders came together to host 17 business leaders and company founders. So it was 17. Not sure if it's from 16 companies or what we don't know the breakdown because it's anonymous. From around the world who were actively considering Southern Nevada to relocate or start their companies. So I'm going to guess that these are mostly existing companies. When it comes to startups, there's an entire entrepreneurial ecosystem focus that's very different. I will wager another $1 that this $2 million is not being spent to get 17 startups to move to Vegas. So using the Super Bowl as a centerpiece, unironically, Super Bowl in Roman numerals, LV3. It probably would have been funnier if it was LV1. So what is that, 58? If my Roman numeral conversion is correct. Locate, which is local opportunity collaboration advancing transformative economic development. Las Vegas spent 3 days immersing our guests in all that makes our region remarkable. From meeting with business and civic leaders. And again, you're going to meet with, through warm introductions, you're going to meet with people who are here to impress potential additions to our economy. So they're not necessarily being honest. Not that honesty would breed contempt, but I think honesty would at least demonstrate that it's not all roses, not even all tulips, including Governor Lombardo in that group of people who are painting a rosy picture. To visiting our national parks and learning about all the geographical benefits of headquartering here. These are distractions. Something important to note when I will tell you right now, relocating to Silicon Valley, for example, almost no one was suggesting that you relocate to Silicon Valley for the restaurants. It was on the list. Certainly nobody was saying the food here sucks. Silicon Valley, the San Francisco Bay Area, restaurants is a thing, but you were going to relocate there to participate in the economy, whether it was a startup or working for nowadays the FANG companies, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. You want to work for those companies. So it's truly an innovation hub, in the opinion of some. The rest is sort of bonus material. So here they were really touting the sites, which is not horrible, but it is important to note that if you have to spend more time on the distractions, it is something to think about. Here's another quote. This is my first time to Las Vegas, and my first impression, and remember this was a 3-day event with a Super Bowl, was it's a very modern city. The next impression was, despite the size of the city, which is not very large actually, it's such a small community. Once again, the mistaken notion that there is a single community of driven individuals all cooperating and collaborating, and everyone knows each other, dramatically false, and supports each other, dramatically false. Also, the economy is very healthy in Nevada. There are a whole bunch of numbers that don't support that, but it's not necessarily unhealthy, which means it's a great place to invest in high-tech and innovative industries. That may or may not be true. We're learning the community and the whole business ecosystem is not only prepared for, but it is the future of developing sectors like life sciences and biotech. I'm speechless. I'll leave that one there. So that end quote, another anonymous source presumably of the 17. One of the areas we are consistently educating company owners and founders about Southern Nevada is, beyond the effectual advantages such as the favorable business climate, infrastructure, available workforce, that is a problem, and more. There is a true community behind all that we do. Again, that I would find issue with. Anecdotally, we are a highly siloed collection of a variety of communities. It's a word I don't really like because it's thrown around too casually, as it is throughout this entire TQ take. Along with our Stanley Cup champion Vegas Golden Knights and the WNBA champion Las Vegas Aces, big events such as the Super Bowl and F1. Now, all of these are one-time events, right? So one Formula One race so far, one Super Bowl. Our football team, the Raiders, the Oakland Raiders, now the Las Vegas Raiders, the Golden Knights. These are new, and these events, big-time, high-profile events, have occurred once, but they have established Las Vegas as the sports capital of the world. There is always a rush in Vegas to capitalize with a dramatically energized hype machine to present Las Vegas not only as the next San Francisco, as the next Silicon Valley, as Hollywood 2.0, but the sports capital of the world so soon. By leveraging these primary tourist-focused events into introductions to the local community, again, one community, not true. Locate, so locate is an acronym as we discussed, so all capitals. Locate Las Vegas can show prospective new business that Southern Nevada provides a work-life combination that is impossible to beat. I will say it is impossible to match. If you go to a car lot and you're thinking about buying a new car, they're not going to show you all of the cars. They're going to show you the cars they want you to buy. That's something to keep in mind. And I don't mean to be a downer, as I tell people all the time. I'm an investor in the Greater Vegas entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem as much as anyone else, sometimes more. And investment meaning everything. I'm not dropping big checks, but I am spending valuable time and experience and so on, as are many people. So we have an actual interest in a positive outcome. I think presenting an overly rosy picture is not effective. My own discussions with I'll just say somebody in our city government, to the point, to the topic of local talent and local business relocating to the area thus far over the past couple of years, literally since 2021, so 2021, 2022 timeframe, possibly before. Companies move here, they realize they really can't hire, and they change their mind. And I've seen this happen a couple of times on a smaller scale. The rosy picture is not quite as rosy if you zoom in. And what we say goes for our first Locate Las Vegas effort, which would not have been possible without the willingness of broad spectrum of public and private entities to come together. So Tina Quigley presents her thanks to the Howard Hughes Corporation, Caesars Entertainment, MGM Resorts, Budget Suites of America, Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Cox, as in the internet provider, Allegiant, as in Allegiant Stadium, but they also do travel, Republic Services, Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, LVCVA. Remember, they're being sued possibly for the way they have handled the Formula One debacle from the perspective of small business. And don't also forget that the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority has approved broadly all of the business dealings with the boring tunnel company, probably the only place of any scale in the United States, if I recall correctly, with one dissenting vote, the outgoing mayor of Las Vegas. and Wynn Las Vegas. So a lot of casinos, a lot of resort businesses. So the fun economy, if you speak to the people in the fun economy, they're going to tell you that everything's great because the fun economy is great here. Public sector partners are Clark County, once again, part of that lawsuit, City of Las Vegas, the City of Henderson, and the City of North Las Vegas. Boulder City, not present. As one of the many programs the LVGEA has to attract new businesses that diversify our community, Locate Las Vegas will remain nimble and evaluate further opportunities tied to our most significant special events. And I will underscore the fact that as the innovation destination that Vegas could be, you should correlate certain activities with the inbound marketing that's possible when people visit for these huge events. If people come here for CES, you should lean into consumer electronics, local innovation, and so on. National Association of Broadcasters show coming up soon, about 2 more weeks in April. Focus on media production, Hollywood 2.0, NAB. These go together nicely. Other events, construction shows, concrete, National Kitchen and Bath has their KBIS, Kitchen and Bath Industry Show. SEMA, there are a variety of different verticals, and there are countless smaller shows. These are the high-profile ones I mentioned. Lean into those. Co-market, co-brand, highlight, encourage people to interact and engage, and give value to returning to Vegas. You don't need to move here. By the way, 300,000 people, give or take, allegedly came to the greater Vegas area for the Formula One race. They didn't have to move here. They came here, they contributed to the economy, and they left. They shall return. Something to think about. As one of the main I've already said this. Look at nimble, the winners. Sorry. Well, let me finish that paragraph. So, tied to our most significant special events, one thing is clear after our initial effort. The Kansas City Chiefs weren't the only team who woke up winners on Monday. That sounds very delightful. So we will see. I believe in some follow-up articles, something like half, give or take, half of the 16 or 17 targets are considering some sort of a decision, possibly a move in the next 6 to 12 months, maybe. So we'll see how that unfolds. Without knowing who or what they are, it's a little bit tricky, but we'll see. So yeah, they showed, there are other articles one might read about this. The tour across the 3 days included the medical school and Blackfire Innovation and so on. Blackfire Innovation, by the way, focused on hospitality and gaming. So innovation in those areas, part of the fun economy, totally makes sense. That's great. Don't extrapolate that into this is the innovation capital of the world with echo of the world. Rivaling. San Francisco. Celebrity does fit the fun economy, however. The possibility of Hollywood 2.0 has whetted the appetites of the likes of Beau Bernard at the UNLV Office of Economic Development. Dr. Bernard is quite excited about their trademarking the phrase fun economy. The last time I checked, that was still pending. It's been a year, I believe, since it was a year in August. Anyway, I'm sure they'll get it. Who's going to argue? Fun economy, Vegas, like peas and carrots again, like peanut butter and chocolate. That is well-known, arguably A-list celebrity. I'm reading some of my notes here. Arguably A-list celebrity. Again, if you look at the Screen Rant article, they would suggest he's not necessarily the top of the A-list. Celebrity Mark Wahlberg was willing to relocate his family to the greater Vegas area, pursue a lobbying effort for financial incentives from the GOED, the Governor's Office of Economic Development, and by extension, the state government itself. And in general, tax incentives locally and so on, and to actually produce movies in this area, which he did, 2 movies. In a language understood here, that celebrity speaks louder than words. If you are a celebrity and you come to Vegas, you will get attention. You will get access to resources. You will get promotion. You will get mention in the press. Now, if Mark Wahlberg were building a baseball stadium, forget about it. That he is only building a $1.8 billion studio, equally impressive, although professional sports, we are the capital of all things sports, as we know. So will we become Hollywood 2.0? We'll see. The tax incentive didn't come through for the last session, so he's going to have to continue that effort. Whenever he makes a guest bartending appearance, as I said, the state of affairs of his offspring attending school here and thriving, whatever he and his wife are getting up to, his workout routine, what he thinks about when he's staring out the window, whatever the case may be. Mark Wahlberg has celebrity momentum behind him, which is good for this area. That works. Not so true of Mark Andreessen, who hasn't really been around, so we don't hear his name dropped nearly so often. But if you are famous or infamous and you want to do something to impact our economy here, just talk about it a lot. You might even not have to. You might not even have to do anything. You can just talk about it. While there may be some debate about where Mr. Wahlberg fits into the revolution, per the Screen Rant article and in general in movie production with the Hollywood 2.0 moniker, the fact is he's driving action. So he should be commended for that. And no matter how that goes, I personally think it's great that he's doing something, or he's talking about doing something. But I believe he's actually he's trying. Well, he did make an appearance in Carson City regarding the lobbying for, I don't know if he's a registered lobbyist, but certainly putting his name behind tax incentives to encourage the likes of Sony Studios and others to support employment of production staff crew, to fund movie production here and so on. So studio space, there's View Studios, there's the Sphere, of course, for displaying grand productions. So there's something to be said for all this. And of course, sports begets media coverage as well. So entire productions around live and captured events. If you don't know, the 49ers Stadium in Santa Clara, California can be seen very clearly from one of the windows, the R&B building where the CEO was seated at the time, Brian Krasanich. Brian Krasanich, by the way, lives in Henderson, Nevada. When Brian Krasanich was the CEO of Intel and I was also working at Intel, if I went to his open office cubicle, he did not have a door, so kudos to that, I suppose. He could see very clearly the 49ers Stadium. Intel was participating in that. They still are. They do a lot of sports-related technology development, including some of the media capture. You really want to be on the field, in the helmet, in the car, etc. So there are opportunities for those types of productions as well, not necessarily 100% traditional cinema, whatever that might be. So lots of opportunity on the ground here. And so yeah, kudos to Mark Wahlberg for taking his adopted town in a direction that may work out. We'll see. Innovation, on the other hand, may not fit the fun economy unless you do fun economy innovation. Every geographical region has many facets, not all of which can get the attention they deserve. Silicon Valley and the Bay Area, by the way, I don't know if you know this, have professional sports. I just mentioned that. They have, in fact, some of their professional sports teams move here. They have professional sports. They have gaming, card houses, and so on. They have tourism. Lots of people go to San Francisco to see the Bay Bridge, the Golden Gate, and the Bay Bridge. And to consume the food, they go to Napa. They go see the sights. They have an entire convention calendar. They have event spaces. They have attractions that benefit from that in the San Francisco area, in the San Jose area, if you ever go to the Embedded World Conference, for example, things like this. So Silicon Valley has all of those things. Are they going to be the next Las Vegas? Las Vegas 2.0 coming soon? No, because Silicon Valley is a place that has emerged since the late 40s, early 50s, thanks to Dr. Terman moving to Stanford from the East Coast after World War II, encouraging Shockley to move from Bell Labs with his Nobel Prize to form Shockley Semiconductor. Dr. Turnan's impact on the engineering and technology development efforts at Stanford in his role as I think it was the director of the department or chair or something. His encouraging Hewlett and Packard to continue their startup efforts. His bringing money to the area, government funds for technology development, actual silicon being made in Silicon Valley. A lot of things worked out, but it doesn't mean that there aren't other strong, interesting facets to the Silicon Valley area. That's true here in Vegas as well. It doesn't mean we're going to be the next Silicon Valley, but every place has things about it, facets to its character that could be beneficial from an economic standpoint or from just quality of life. There are various innovation hubs. I mentioned the link to the government website detailing the 31 hub cities, essentially regions, selected by the federal government to receive some funding and to be focus areas, different geographical areas focusing on different innovation areas. They are either identified explicitly, so they could be on a list of 31, or they may be observable implicitly. That means you may just think that a particular area makes sense for innovation. Maybe everybody goes to Bali to hang out and talk about their next projects. So Bali might be an innovation hub, even though it is not specifically an innovation hub. Why don't you come to Vegas and do that? You can come to Vegas, hang out, see a show, go to the Sphere, see whoever's doing a residency in any number of places, do some gaming, play some pinball, go on a hike, eat some delightful food from any number of millions of restaurants, celebrity chefs, all the way down to cool food trucks. Not every place has to be identified as the next Silicon Valley to be interesting or to encourage innovation, ideation, novel thinking. That's what innovation is. Culture takes time and cultivation effort. It does not arrive on a prime delivery box in exchange for, $2 million. The Blackfire Innovation Center at UNLV Tech Park is aimed specifically at gaming and hospitality innovation, as I said. So Blackfire Innovation is not innovation in a broad global sense. It is focused on hospitality and gaming. This makes sense. This is the place to do that. So the fun economy and innovation could fit like hand in glove as well with so many conventions, and with Las Vegas a preeminent destination city, it makes sense to lean into visitors in various verticals and to enable their collaborators extended visits, use of innovation resources, and so on. Make this a place where people come, just like a co-work space in general. Make Vegas a big giant co-work space. Fly in, you and your crew. Hey, you got remote workers all over the world? Come to Vegas. By the way, Intel does this, the Intel Sales and Marketing Conference. Bring your people from far and wide. Visit Vegas. We got the room. Oh, we need a big meeting space. We got those. We need fast internet access. We have that. We need plenty of restaurants. Got those. We need some entertainment if people bring their families. Covered. The list goes on. We are built from the ground up to facilitate visitors, to keep them busy, and to have conference spaces to keep them busy with work, or places like Area 15 and shopping malls and hiking and skydiving and helicopter tours and all manner of things to keep them busy if they're not working. So we're a destination city. Why not be an innovation destination city? It makes sense to do this. I've been talking about it for 10 years. Why are we encouraging through, I believe in another article, Tina Quigley actually says spearfishing. Instead of spearfishing people into convincing them to relocate to the greater Vegas area at some risk, not only to their business, but also to the local economy through gentrification. Why do that when we can support today more people visiting for extended periods of time? Come for 2 weeks, come for a month, bring all of your innovation staff, all of your entire company, bring them all to Vegas for 2 weeks, a month, have innovation sprints, take advantage of the fast internet access. While you're here, why don't you produce a movie with Mark Wahlberg? Check out the latest in robot bartenders. Oh, there's a show in town. Let's go to SEMA, or let's go to CES, or let's go to NAB, or let's go to the Concrete Show, or let's go to the Identity Conference, or let's go to, the list goes on and on and on and on. So while you're here, you can accomplish all these things. Do you need to relocate to Vegas to accomplish any of these things? No. The population of the greater Vegas area, is Clark County, approximately 2.3 million. The number of visitors visiting the greater Vegas area over the course of a year, according to the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, approximately 40 million. It's a lot of opportunity for co-creation, engagement with people from a variety of cultures, geographical areas, and so on. Entrepreneurs, innovators, and our ecosystem, given the nature of this destination city. And I'll reiterate again, Las Vegas, the city, is a geographically bound government entity. From the public's perspective, Las Vegas and Clark County are almost the same thing. As I remind people, the Welcome to Las Vegas, Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas sign is not in the city of Las Vegas. It is in Clark County. There are several other signs, but the one everybody knows about is near the airport. It's in Clark County. And the impression that this might someday be an innovation hub, the question is, should you be looking at the entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem here? Should you be looking to be entrepreneurial and to be innovative. Well, of course you should, but should you be considering only Las Vegas? No, probably not. Not necessarily tech, by the way. Everybody believes that tech and innovation go hand in glove as well, that you can be innovative in food. By the way, the Culinary Union, very powerful here in Vegas. Food is important. So are the people that make it. You can be innovative in the food, in the victuals area, in the potables. If you want to be innovative in drinks, beverages, not necessarily unicorn scale pursuits. You can do a lot of things here. You can be entrepreneurial without being the next Google or Amazon or whatever. Novel ideation to address problems and gaps and possibilities. We're having around 40 million people nearby to try ideas out might be an advantage. People don't go to Shenzhen to see what people are making. People don't make anything in Vegas for all the people who come here to see. We could mix those. As well, the ability to engage visitors in so many verticals through attendance and participation at conferences and conventions makes proximity and the late Tony Hsieh, RIP, concept of serendipitous collisions actual upsides here. These are not bankable business plans. I never thought the serendipitous collision idea was quite worthy of, unending accolade. But serendipitous collisions, when there are so many opportunities for so many people from so many different areas to converge with allegedly similar interests. If you are here for CES, you are probably interested in consumer electronics. If you're here for SEMA, you might like cars. If you come here for the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show, maybe you work with kitchens and bathrooms and appliances and cabinetry and flooring and plumbing and so on. So you arrive in a town like Las Vegas with a few thousand people of similar interest. We should lean into that. We should make innovation while you're here ever more possible. If people come here for those shows, they're probably in a mindset where seeing something new and being offered the opportunity to participate in something new, co-creation, etc., might be that much more appealing. Do excited headlines and political agenda make for an innovation hub? I would say no. You cannot simply wish your way into innovation hub status. But the greater Vegas area may well be a suitable innovation destination, as I've said, for visitors, remote worker, conversions, co-creation efforts, and more. For 10 years, and unfortunately I approached the LVGEA about this. I should have gone to the LVCVA at the time. 10 years, moved to Vegas, started working for Intel, Maker Innovator Group, etc. I went and met with Thornton, what's his name? I always forget his name. Thornton, he works for Special Olympics now, president of Special Olympics in Nevada. Anyway, sat in front of his desk, and I said, you got the downtown project, you got all these startups, you got 35 million tourists back then, whatever it was. Why are the tourists not being introduced to the startups? And he said, that's a really cool idea. And that's where it's at. So between my Fusion Center discussions with the UNLV back in the time, enabling visiting innovators and talent here on the ground and students to collaborate on a kind of a floating or a revolving basis, right? Do I have to relocate here to come up with? No, we have internet access. We have biotech labs. We have co-work spaces. You can come here, stick around for a week or a month, bring all of your colleagues into town, like the Intel Sales and Marketing Conference says. They bring in thousands of their sales and marketing people from all around the world to Vegas. Then they send them back wherever they came from. While you're here, you can do some cool things. You can have great meetings. We have plenty of meeting space. We have plenty of internet connectivity, only more now. We have plenty of food. We have plenty of places for your family to go. You can stay all you want. We don't, however, magically turn that into the next Silicon Valley. We do have an economic development mindset coupled with old school politics. This may lead one to believe that company relocation is the one true way. That's why our economic development people, the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, they're talking to, hey, you're a big business. Why don't you relocate to Vegas? That will add to our economy. You could be the anchor stores in our mall of innovation. Is that the one true way, or is this just the old way? Maybe. It's the modern era. We can and should lean into what works already. We have an entire service industry that powers a fun economy. Why gentrify those people? Why not lean into that? Bring your 5,000 sales and marketing people from around the world. Bring your 3,000 developers, engineers, and so on. Hang out in Vegas for a month. Patronize our various businesses and use our meeting spaces. Use our internet connection. Use our fiber and so on. Innovate. And then go back home. So what about some strategy? The There are a few things we can do. I'm speaking as an entrepreneur, as someone who is in the startup realm. I am not a member of a community because there really isn't one community to be a member of. But we must have a true sense of what we have and where we are headed. We are all here. We may not all be cooperating. We may not all be in a common interest community, as some people believe exists, but we are all doing our thing. And sometimes we do collaborate. Sometimes we cooperate. Sometimes we just show up to things for the free food, try to get some clients. Top-down motivated reasoning is nice for pitching to these outside companies. It's a fantasy to executives in the VIP box at the Super Bowl. But asset maps, culture strengths, talent pool, depth and breadth, resources current and nascent, and compelling comparison with other regions along these lines are missing. If you show people all of the bars and restaurants in Vegas and say, this is a great place for your workers to move, your employees will love it here. And you don't talk about things like education and traffic and getting around the city and cost of living and what their impact would be on the fun economy. Because don't forget, even though the fun economy is not as lucrative as the, billions of dollars each month in gaming revenue alone. So professional sports, the fun economy is gaming, tourism, conventions, professional sports, and there's a fifth one: gaming, tourism, conventions, professional sports, and it'll come to me. So all those things are great. If you move a business into town and they gentrify the place so that you price out the service industry folks and the people working at events and the people enabling the fun economy, you run the risk of, risking your fun economy, which is making tons of money. What is the fifth one? That's annoying. I say it all the time. Oh, wait, did I? Gaming, tourism, conventions, professional sports, entertainment? Yeah, it must be entertainment. Residencies and so on. The sphere is entertainment, concerts, performances, etc. So yeah, it must be entertainment. So those things are great. If you move a Google or an Apple into town, for example, those won't happen. And all of their employees expect to live in nice homes and whatnot. They bring their California or other salaries to town. They buy homes for cash. This has happened in other places. You price people out. You drive real estate up. Just during the pandemic alone, rents went up 25% or more. Sometimes they've come down since. But this priced people out of the service industry. We always have jobs available because a lot of the people working those jobs were priced out of the region and they had to leave. So imagine doing that at scale with no recovery. The pandemic went away. Although a company that moves here and gentrifies a place might also go away. It's hard to say. Small business entrepreneurs, anyone looking for new ideas that benefit from diverse and substantial exposure, potential anyway, to large populations if given a workable path to that exposure. That is, some infrastructure in place to connect those 40 million-ish visitors to the region with the local innovation that's taking place. This may enable a co-creation design and or marketing workflow. So you can actually expose people, not in a pandemic sense, but in a new product, new prototype sense, makes for better products and more product awareness. So as people find out about this stuff, they say, oh, I tried out the latest robotic gym equipment when I was in Vegas. When is that coming to my town? Or, oh, I was unusually tall when I interacted with the person driving the robotic gym equipment. We came away with new ideas about how to handle people that are taller than average, or et cetera. So all kinds of possibilities. If it sounds like I'm speaking with the voice of experience, is because when I was working for Intel Corporation, traveling around, going to hackathons in different places, you get to interact with a lot of different people and you talk to them in person and you learn why your product doesn't work great. So the Intel products that we were bringing to these people enabled us to get feedback from the actual customers we were trying to build these products for. So in the case of Vegas, they come to you. Something to think about. Southern Nevada has already demonstrated this concept around UAVs. UAVs, unmanned, I think, uncontrolled, autonomous vehicles. Self-driving vehicles on the ground, so self-driving cars, have been legal in various ways for years. When I first moved here 10 years ago, the GoEd was driving an effort to make the Nevada region in general, the entire state, one of 6 test sites approved by the FAA for drones, aerial drones, so quadcopters and similar, to be able to operate in airspaces with various constraints to help push along the development of autonomous vehicles. Aerial drones at the time and now drones on the ground. So by enabling the use of UAVs, self-driving cars on the ground, for example, with real people visiting from around the world. Those 40 million tourists are from all over. They don't all come here from Austin or San Francisco. So you have a broad range of exposure possibilities for people from different cultures, different familiarities with self-driving vehicles, etc. These are cars that can operate on the street. These people are visiting from many places. They converge because everybody has to get around this crazy place. Without the need to shift development or substantial corporate infrastructure to the area. That means you don't need to move your entire company to Vegas. You can move a sales arm. You can move a engineering support group. If you're going to interact with customers on self-driving vehicles, and you can take feedback, you may prototype some changes here, or you may work more intimately on the design here versus having your design team somewhere else. They may come here and visit and stay in any of our 50,000 plus hotel rooms for a week or a month, bring their family, et cetera, et cetera. This does not mean that smaller, faster moving innovators and entrepreneurs should not consider the Greater Vegas ecosystem. But it does mean that there may be some upsides other than become a local that would be far more substantially valuable to any effort. But these may not get the attention that they could or should. That's the end of my notes, by the way. Thanks for hanging in. So the important take home is anywhere on the planet could be the base of operations for your innovation, your entrepreneurial efforts. Location when it comes to business real estate. Where you open a storefront, a restaurant, a bar, a retail establishment, anything, a service business, consultancy, etc. Where those open, it can be important, can matter substantially. However, you could also benefit from the people who visit, who don't necessarily walk by your store. Maybe they're not foot traffic, unless you are a small business affected by Formula One, then you may need a little lawsuit to deal with that. But you could leverage some of the upsides of the Greater Vegas area that are not immediately apparent. I'm going to wager that if you are not doing something in gaming and hospitality, the Blackfire innovation is merely interesting but not a game changer. You may not be interested in the medical school. You may not even be interested in the Strip. Maybe you want to move your small company here, but you'd rather not have people spending all their time gambling and attending shows and watching sporting events. Not to say that those are not fun things, but is that the draw? Is that the reason to move to another city? I will say, when I was in college, one of my classmates, unfortunately no longer with us, Eric Fain, used to say, this is before I lived here, obviously, why would you not start a business, start a company, move your employees to Vegas? There's so many things to get into. Technically, it sounds like a great idea. In reality, it sounds like, and this has happened with the Raiders, for example, some of your employees are not going to make it. Some of them will be arrested, or some of them will do harm to themselves or others. The Greater Vegas area can be a rough area when it comes to personal vices. You may have a gambling addiction that you didn't even know about. You may like to go out and drink a little bit. You may enjoy the company of others despite what your family thinks. So there are a lot of challenges when it comes to relocating to Vegas. Not everything is fun in the fun economy. However, all that said, if you are an innovator, an entrepreneur in the fun economy space, this may be a place for you. So the strategy really comes down to presenting an honest picture of this place so that if you are already here, like I am, you can have a greater, or maybe even non-zero, understanding of what is here and what is not, and what can be done to improve that situation, to close that gap. Things like asset maps, things like introspection surveys. What is working? What's working where you are? Is there a regional difference? Is access to internet, access to electricity, access to water, access to transportation, access to educational resources? Are all of these things having an impact per region, per hex grid or square grid space on our map, on our geographical map, how does that compare to our asset map where we have talent, we have resources, etc.? All of these things can be maintained, presented in a transparent way. They could even be a part of the open data sets. The city of Las Vegas does have substantial open data resources, not necessarily employees work on it, but we could actually make these open data that can be looked at and analyzed for positive or negative change over time. We can actually present an honest view of what works and what doesn't for people who want to start a business, start a company. The last thing you want to do is have startups or small or even large businesses move here and then realize this is not the place. That doesn't look good in your marketing materials, does it? Although those often get forgotten. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there. This has been an interesting discussion with myself. Hopefully you enjoyed listening in. I am intensely opinionated, but willing to change my mind if presented with suitable data. Hype, we got plenty of that here. Merely saying that we are going to be the next Silicon Valley, these are words I have heard said. And I've heard and watched people get excited by these words with absolutely zero understanding of what that entails, what that implies, what that requires, where that leads. You don't want to be the next Silicon Valley. You want to be a better version of what you are, where you are, who you work with. Can we be a better Vegas? Probably. Can we make what we have work better? Sure. Can we be a different city? Probably not. This is the first of many and another of several episodes of this program focused on this general area. There will be more. My voice is telling me that the show is about to end. Don't forget to check out buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo for links to various shows, various episodes, various projects, etc. You are under no obligation to buy anything, although we are coffee powered if you do want to. A couple bucks, but no obligation. And that is where I'll leave it. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to come on and talk about any of these topics about our economy, our entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem, the introspection, the retrospective project that's still on deck because only one person's working on it when he's not doing podcast episodes, asset maps, like I said, the introspection, the other resources we could have if we actually put some time into it, et cetera, you know where to find me. Buy a microphone somewhere. Thank you for listening. Take care.